Absolutely.
Go live.
Go
Hello.
live. Going live. That was a Saturday morning TV show.
Yeah.
Wasn't
Even I remember that.
it? Even you.
See?
I was. What are you painting? That's Wars of the Roses, there, mate, isn't it?
It is, mate. It
You've
is.
no idea where to put it, have you, to show it on camera?
Nope. Here we go.
There you go.
Love it.
See? A head swap.
A head swap.
Ooh.
Well done. What have you used?
You must have been
How
watching
did I
some
learn-
videos.
How did I learn to do head swaps? Nope.
I know, other way.
The other way, mate. Right, gentlemen, welcome to the Devil Wears Prima episode. I don't know, 3, 4, 5, 4,
Yeah.
4 sounds good.
4.
4. We are the 3 hobby heroes that you didn't know you had. We're down one member of the team,
We're heroes. Woohoo!
so it's almost
Just
like
for one day.
Just for one day. Hey.
Sorry.
I hope everyone's well out there. It is about 1 billion degrees where I am. Steve has taken the best option doing this al fresco, but I can see Tom is in his usual space, hopefully with plenty of air and air conditioning or fans or whatever. So I hope everyone's well out there. We're all looking forward to Free Doom Day on Monday when all bets are off and we're all going to look after one another and all be sensible and all and all respect each other's space and desires to wear masks, not wear masks.
Sean, now come on, mate.
Distance. We're
So
positive.
just as we did before.
Yeah, just as we did before. So yes, I hope you're well. Hope you two are well as well, Steve and Tom. Steve, give us your update. How are you doing, mate?
Yeah, not too bad, mate. Yeah.
Good.
Pretty
I
good.
can see it.
Still painting. 4 roses.
Vase of the Roses.
Odd things. Yorkish dogs.
Yorkish dogs. Yeah, I'm with you on that.
The main man himself. There he is.
Oh, look at that. A bit of bling.
Is that Edward?
Bit of bling in his gold armor.
Edward and his gold armor.
I am doing his circuit.
Good man.
Who wore gold
I
armor?
seem to have like 3 choices when you look at the pictures. You had with Edward, you seem to have there's pictures of him wearing standard like silver type of like metal color, basic like silvery metal type.
Yeah.
There's pictures of him wearing black armor, and there's pictures of him wearing gold armor. So it's like
It's really common with
like
the sort of illustration of the time that armor would be depicted as black because it was easier than trying to make it grey. But then it would also be done as silver because it is. And then some of them really did have gilded armor, which would have been all shiny gold. So yeah, it's lovely.
I thought it makes him stand out a bit, isn't it? So.
And you can also use him as Jaime Lannister then in the Game of Thrones. If you chop his
Don't
hand
know
off.
much about that.
Don't you? Oh my goodness.
Well, it's pretty much War of the Roses because it's the Yorks are the Starks and the Lannisters are your Lancasters.
Yeah.
And everything in between.
Yeah, essentially.
I only ever watched a series of that.
Did you? How'd you disconnect someone, Tom? I'm not quite...
Oh, just throw a punch sideways.
Douche. You've only watched one season. Oh my goodness. Yeah. I will move on from your.
The problem is you just got to commit to so much time to watch these programs.
I know. It's a big one, isn't it? It's a big commitment. I appreciate. Okay, enough of your woes then, Steve. Tom, how are you, mate?
Yeah, I'm all good. Thank you very much. Got the kids have started their school holidays early, so we've had well, it started off with a bang with my son's 8th birthday yesterday. So we had a
Felix, is it?
Yeah, cheers. That's it, Felix. Yeah. Cheers, guys. I'll make sure he watches this bit of the the video when he gets up in the morning.
Happy birthday, Felix.
Cheers, guys. And so we've had really good fun with that. He got his it was a birthday first. He got his first lightsaber.
Yes.
Which was very cool. And he also got his first actual wargaming model, which I'll show you a piece, and some people might be able to guess what it's going to be. But it is Games Workshop. Yeah, that's the one. So he started building it today, all on his own, borrowing Daddy's glue and stuff. Yeah, so that was a really nice gift off a friend. But he also got his first Airfix kit, which was really good fun. And it was one of the sort of clipped together Lego ones, just to see if he's interested. But yeah, he's built himself a Spitfire, so I'm very proud of him.
I was about to say, is it a Spitfire, Tom?
Got to be
a Spitfire. Got to be.
Yeah, it has to be. Yeah. Well, that's it. I mean, where we are in the New Forest, not being far from Southampton, I'm pretty sure. I think it was Southampton where they built propellers for them.
Yeah.
Or somewhere near Salisbury, one of the two. And ironically, the first thing he managed to snap off of it was the propeller. So I said, "Don't worry, we'll pop down the road and buy you a new one." But,
might be a bit big.
Bit big, but but no. Other than that, we're all the rest of the family's enjoying the sun. But I am very much a man of the northern climate. Which is daft because I live on the south coast of England.
You're man of my own heart there.
Yeah.
Man of my own heart.
But, yeah, well, but on positives, I did finally finish those 3 men-at-arms that I've been painting for the last 3 or 4 episodes of this. And as a palette cleanser, I've decided to do an American Civil War officer on horseback. It's just I think it's one of the Perry-Plastic ones.
Oh yeah.
From when they did, or they still do it, but the the huge American Civil War plastic box they did.
Yeah.
So I've never really finished any of the models out of that. I have to admit, bought it, used them for different bits, and they all kind of got lost or broken. Most of the army I now have is made of metal from Perry's, but whatever.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's just it's been sat on my painting desk for about a year now, just kind of waiting to be made into like a scouting officer for sharp practice or something like that.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's a nice change of pace from painting varied colours and just having grey, black, and brown to work with, really, and white jackets, of course. So
let me just see if this will work. Hang on. Let's see. There's new technology coming forth.
Oh dear.
Maybe.
Get technical.
It's about to get technical, but I think I'm failing.
Oh no.
Yeah.
Let's try.
There we go. No. Got it. Right. Okay. So hopefully.
Hey, fantastic.
Ooh.
Oh, look at that. Oh, now you're going to embarrass me now.
Can we see it?
Yeah, look at that.
You can see.
God, what talented individual did that?
Well,
I like that.
One hell of a talented. He painted those.
Hand-painted transfers are brilliant.
Hand-painted transfers.
Are brilliant.
And I'm told he painted those rings in the mail there individually.
Yeah, painstakingly. Yeah,
that's what I heard as well.
Yeah, there are rumours. Cheers, guys. But no, it's been nice kind of getting to the end of models that I've wanted to paint for so long, for them to turn out as I wanted them to is really nice. So
I'm kind of in that mood myself, Tom, with Les, who sometimes pops up in here. I know we've got 3 viewers. I don't know if Les is with us. But Les accused me of being, what was it now? He'd written it in French, and there's papillon, so that's butterfly, but I can't remember what the other word, papillon tart. I don't know what tart, what the literal translation is for that, but
he knows you well.
He does know me well, but listen, I said to him, at the moment, it's making me really happy to paint. So I've got American War of Independence over here. I've got a monitor for hammering iron here, the Onondaga.
Ooh, cool.
I just need to add the flag too. I've got my Wars of the Roses here, which I sprayed up this afternoon, ready to paint tonight. And I've even got I'm making a start on my next 6mm project, which is War of Independence.
That's cool.
And these are
nice.
So there's and the pirate ships which I've just finished. So I'm just loving flitting around without any particular end goal in sight at the moment. End goals do interest me, and I do love having a target in mind for a game or a project. But at the moment, just flitting around and choosing what I want to paint without any care it's quite liberating.
It is nice to be able to sit down and not feel like it's becoming a chore. You know, I have to have this done by this date, otherwise I can't do X, or I'm going to let X person down. It is. There's something. Also, I think borderline really rewarding that you can finish, you know, a stand, a ship, or whatever, and be like, "Well, I did that. Awesome.
Yeah.
What am I going to complete next?"
Yeah, exactly. So from my perspective, I'm feeling a little bit rough. I will keep hopefully disappearing off screen to blow my nose or sneeze and muting myself in the process. I do have a COVID test for tomorrow. Hopefully I'll be all right. I've had
You'll be fine.
A couple of negative lateral flow tests. But other than that, big news of the day was I played an online game today.
Ooh, yeah, I should have mentioned that.
Over Skype.
Ooh, did you?
Men of Company B by Peter Pig. So I took
fantastic.
I took a platoon out into the boonies in the Central Highlands of Vietnam.
Wonderful.
For a little search and destroy mission, and it didn't go particularly well. But James Mitchell, who ran it for us, it was absolutely fantastic. So how we did it was a little bit unconventionally compared to how most people have been playing games online during lockdown. Is that he would make a call to me on Skype video, and I got a map of the table layout here, so I knew where.
Very cool.
And he got that layout on his table, so I would tell him what I wanted to do: move around, search the hoochies and the villages. In the Men from Company B, the US are all about recovering caches of bags of rice or radios, or trying to find the local commissar, that sort of thing. Not particularly to enter into a firefight with the VC or the NBA. So I would carry out my turn, and if I stumbled into an ambush or the enemy took some sort of opportunity fire, I'd receive that, and then he'd end the call with me and then go to the VC player. So
awesome.
To do in between, so there's about 10-minute gaps in between.
You just waiting,
wondering what the hell's
That's very cool.
I had a Kazibak helicopter blown out the sky.
No!
I had a squad leader who James nicknamed Mel Gibson because he survived just about beyond all reasonable chances of survival until roughly the last turn. He was dragging 4 wounded comrades with him around the bush whilst firing from the hip with his M16. But they got him in the end, unfortunately.
Wonderful.
And not before he called in an artillery strike and it landed on him.
Amazing.
So it was a very characterful game. I lost quite heavily, but I did manage to capture the VC commissar, so it was great fun.
Brilliant.
Spent all day doing it.
But did you have fun?
Wonderful.
That's what I said. But did you have fun? That's the main one.
I had fun.
But did you have fun?
We had
exactly.
fun.
That's all that matters. Don't matter if you win or you lose. You had fun.
There's a few pictures up on Twitter, Tom. So
I think I saw the setup and it looked wonderful. So
James did.
I don't want to look at any of your pictures.
It's marvelous. I'll send them through to your personal mail.
No.
So, and the other thing is, I don't think I've mentioned this on the stream yet, but I'm running a AK-47 game day at Battlefield Hobbies in Coventry on the 9th of October. So that's the day before the other Partisan show. So some people are coming up and playing AK-47 on the Saturday and then going to the Partisan on the Sunday, which I'll be doing as well, hopefully, God willing.
That's a good idea.
And tickets are going really well, actually, already. I think we've sold half of the ticket allocation.
Wow.
Which is really positive, and there's a hell of a lot of chatter going on the Peter Pig forum, the Rules for the Common Man forum. So get over there if you're interested. Okay.
Wonderful. Good luck with it. Sounds like it's going to be really good fun. So
yeah, I think it will. I've created my own imagination, my own sort of Central African Republic.
I've seen your blog, mate. Very good.
Yeah, there is a caveat added to it that nothing miserable or nasty is going to happen, other than the fact people are shooting each other with AK-47s. You know, you sort of.
Well, you know.
But there's no talk of genocide or religion or mass murders or kidnappings. It's none of the, because there's some horrific things that happen in Central Africa as well. And it's nothing to promote that. It's all ridiculous stuff. In fact, one of the games tables will have a volcano with Dr. Evil's lair inside.
Wonderful.
Gotta be done.
Yeah,
I love it.
It's
As I said, for the fact I was in Cardiff, I'm in Cardiff that weekend, I would have definitely been going.
Well, that my sister-in-law gets married on the Sunday. So, although I want to go to Partisan, it's highly unlikely to happen. Only if the wedding doesn't happen, essentially. But, you know, there's time. Okay, so everyone update on what everyone's painting tonight. Steve? Yeah, I know you've already told me it's Wars of the Roses, but and it's Yorkish.
War of the Roses.
So how far along
Yorkish,
are you with? Is this
Yorkish pigs?
Is
or
this
dogs?
the start on the? Is this the start on the Yorkish forces?
Yes. This is the first unit and the first command, as we were talking about earlier on. Here's the main man himself.
Edward the Fourth. Very good.
Started.
He hasn't got long to live though.
His gold armor. So
yeah.
Was it 10 years on?
He does. In fact, I'm doing him a disservice there, aren't I? Because in that period, that's quite a long stretch of time. To
I think it's like 10, 12 years, wasn't it?
Yeah.
He was on
83, wasn't it? 71 to 83. 12 years.
Yeah,
that's right. So
Martin.
And then
just pretty good going by the time.
Yeah.
Just in case I need something else to do, I've got a shade. Oh, camera.
For
Night Stalkers.
Night Stalkers. Right.
Awesome.
Do you know what you're taking to Clash of Kings yet?
Oh yeah, Empire Dust.
No messing.
It's just what I've been playing recently, and I know what I'm doing. So I'm just going for a fun anyway. So don't have to think too much.
I find as I get
I'm not overly competitive as usual.
Yeah, the older I get, the less I want to concentrate on what I'm doing or think about it. There you go. I was losing my train of thought mid-conversation.
The thing I find is with a lot of things like this, I'd rather build the army I want to play. I don't care how good it is. I just want to use models I like. So sometimes it works. Sometimes it works out being a good army. Sometimes it works out being a crap army. But it's the models I want to paint and I want to use.
That's often my philosophy. Well, it's always my philosophy with all the Kings of War armies I've got. It's either because that's what I've bought in a job lot from somebody, or I've just bought one of the mega armies and added to it, and it's just the bits that I want to play with. So
I've literally had armies where I bought one model because I really like it, and next minute I got 3,000 points of that army, all because I bought that one model.
Yeah.
Because I just wanted to build an army around that one model.
Yeah.
But
whether it's any good in the game or not.
So yeah, but still.
Rule of cool.
Rule of cool. Yeah. It's the most important rule.
You got it. You got it.
Tom, I know. I've probably it's not been great hosting here because we've already talked about what you two are painting. But just tell us again about this American Civil War general that you're painting.
Yeah, so it's a remnant from the Perry's big battle, the big American Civil War box they did, which came with a little rule set and whatever. And he's going to be used. Initially, he was being built up as a scouting officer, essentially, for sharp practice, just to have some support options. I don't know if you've ever had a look at sharp practice.
Yes, yeah.
Cool. So it's being able to, flesh out the forces rather than just taking what's on the paper as this is your starting group. Really kind of turns one-off games into something a bit more interesting.
Yeah.
And the group of guys I play with, although we haven't actually played any American Civil War sharp practice yet, we keep talking about it. We got very put off when we played a Napoleonics game because it just felt really flat. Entirely our fault, we as one of the culprits there, but we very much just played what was in the book, and we were too eager to just get toys on the table.
Yeah.
And looking back at it, it was like, well, actually, yeah, if we'd had, all these little things, like a water cart, it makes a real difference to the game when your men do run, they run out of water, and so they can't do anything because of an unfortunate event. So since then, I've bought very few figures for like actual infantry or cavalry or anything. I've ended up with more officers and oddities to just place around the board. But having learned that lesson, with the American Civil War, it was so much more important to have those fundamental support choices just ready to be used. So yeah, our little chappy here. I mean, I'm really not very good with anything today on this one. He's getting there. We've done grey and started a bit of skin, but he's only got the one epaulet, so I don't know if that makes him like a lieutenant then or what. Well, I suppose it's Americans a lieutenant, but he's not going to be a super high ranking chappy. But I can see I've been asked a question by one of my gaming group, actually, says Pete there, asking which games would I start my kids on, knowing my gaming background. And I'll be honest with all of you, I would recommend you don't, because it's expensive. I think it is a great question because, I mean, it also comes with my past having worked for Games Workshop, it was my job to convince children they needed to play one of the 3 key games that Games Workshop produced. But I'd actually probably still say that Lord of the Rings, so the Lord of the Rings, I think strategy battle game they call it now, I think it's still one of the most entertaining and easily accessible war games you can get, especially for kids. Because Lord of the Rings is something that you can tap into, whether it's the films or if you've got a family who do read the books. There's a real depth that you can go to, but you can also just pick up, you pick your favorite hero, and let's say your favorite is like me, you like Boromir, for example, and you're like, well, actually, it could be really good fun doing Boromir versus the Uruk-hai scouts at is it Armenhead? No, that's the other one. It is, yeah. Thank you. And you could literally have one model on one side and 20 on the other, and it's still fun. The rules still allow you to enjoy the narrative.
Yeah.
But you can keep the model count low. There are people that I've spoken to, and they say things like, "What a tanker!" I love What a Tanker. It's really straightforward. It teaches kids basic sort of. You can, as long as they can read 1 to 6, brilliant. You know how to use dice. But actually, I think to say to a kid, "Oh, you're playing this tank," unless they've got that real passion for armored fighting vehicles of World War II, for specifically, I think you're hard pressed to convince kids to play a war game over playing something online like War Thunder or World of Tanks, which I won't lie, I've spent many hours doing myself. But it's that's a very interesting question.
Do they actually Tom, do they actually do a starter set for Lord of the Rings now? I know they do starter sets for AOS and
yeah, so there is the Battle for Pelennor Fields.
oh right, yeah.
But by starter set, I mean, when I was getting into the game, it was £40 for a starter set, and that gave you some rules, enough models to play a game in a bit of terrain. But the Battle for Pelennor Fields, I think, clocks in at about £100. But that's because it does come. I believe it comes with a full rulebook.
Yeah, I noticed they've been doing recently with the AOS and 40k. They've been doing these tiered sets, haven't they? I think they released the new AOS ones. They went up for pre-order. I think they range from 45, 75, and up to £100, depending on the size you buy.
Yeah. So from what I've seen, yeah, they even do like down to a £20 buy-in, which is like 3 models a side, and a sort of the box turns into a piece of terrain, which I think is a really clever way of getting you started.
Yeah.
In a very intelligent business manner as well. They've made it that you can't always get those models elsewhere. So even though you might have bought the 70, 80, £100 starter set, you may still need to then go and buy the £20 starter set to get absolutely every single figure.
I just think it's a good way of doing it, though, because you know what I mean. To be able to buy a child, a kit where they can actually open the box, push fit models, and you can just play the game is what you kind of need, isn't it? Because it's what kids are like, innit? If they're not in and playing within, half an hour or so, that they've lost interest and gone off and done something else. So
No, absolutely. And I think it's it'll always depend on the kid as well. So my 5-year-old daughter, Genevieve and Felix, now 8, they had a game of Black Seas with me, the Warlord Games Age of Sail game, and they loved it because they're just pushing boats around, shooting each other with cannon. It was great fun. But did they want to play it again? No, because it really didn't appeal to them, and there aren't children appropriate sort of stories of the high seas anymore. What can I get them to watch? Master and Commander. That's a little bit violent for a 5-year-old and an 8-year-old.
Yeah.
Outside of that, the next nearest you're going to get coming to their age group. Well, this is it. It's like there's Pugwash, which you have to try and find on YouTube. Pirates of the Caribbean, that I'd rather not. And just it is tricky to find. I mean, it kind of comes back to a jealousy that I have of the generation before mine, which would probably be both of you guys. But from what I understand, history at school was more about the positives of English history rather than when I was at school. It was the Nazis were bad, the communists weren't great, but that's all you're allowed to learn unless it's Henry VIII because he had 6 wives. Not that he, nothing to do with the Reformation, nothing to do with, the amazing sort of overhaul he did to the country. Or terrible overhaul, it depends on your perspective, I guess. But I was so bored of the Tudors by the time I'd left primary school that, genuinely my interest in history stops as as Henry VII, I say Richard III loses, but Henry VII wins, and doesn't really spark up again until you got Wellington and Napoleon. So, because unfortunately, school didn't teach any of that, but neither was popular media for kids. It wasn't. History wasn't popular for TV. I grew up with Captain Bucky O'Hare and Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. For me, it was all about other people's, and in a great way in some ways, but it was other people's culture and very American. So I was more likely to have seen something on the telly about the American Civil War than I was about the English Civil War. Which I always think is really, I don't want to say it's really sad because I think all history has to be taught within context. And I'm going to go on a bit of a rant here because I still have dreams of being a history teacher one day. But, if you don't learn history, you are doomed to repeat it as such. And I think that it's really important at school for history to still be relevant to the children and their age groups. My son's done the Great Fire of London 2 years in a row. What he's learned from that is utterly useless for him, if he has an interest in history moving forward, because he's learned about Samuel Pepys and his cheese, but not the value of the cheese. It's to me as a historian, like, the fact that he buried his cheese, well, that's just common sense, isn't it? I mean, that thing's worth a bomb. If you knew that your house was likely to catch fire and you could dig a pit and put your iPad and your PC and whatever in there, you probably would, because it'd be safer. But those correlations aren't, the comparisons aren't drawn. And actually all he's learned is that there was a really big fire and they blew up some houses. Yeah. Where it's like, but you could do the Blitz and kind of do the same story. Yeah. They had to purposefully destroy slightly damaged buildings, but actually, learning about the Blitz, I think, is still far more prevalent. Because, I mean, Felix's great grandparents on my side of the family were children during the Blitz, and unfortunately, they've all passed away now. But my nan always used to tell me about how they'd go out and pick up the shrapnel, and it wasn't until she was in like her 50s that it kind of dawned on her that what she was doing was picking up the bits of bomb casing that probably had killed someone, or something like that. So I think when it does come to history and learning it at appropriate ages, and then kind of switching that over into playing tabletop war games specifically, I think it is really tricky, to pick something and make it appropriate for kids. Even just enjoyable, I mean, knights and castles, you don't learn about it at school. It doesn't come up. The Anglo-Saxons are kind of passed over as a stepping stone from the Romans to the Normans, and it's horrendous that actually, the general view. And I appreciate that, expecting an education system to teach your one preferred subject in the universe perfectly is never going to be realistic. But I just think, do you know what? Like, world history is so important, but you could teach the history of the Celts and the fact that their influence ranged from Britain all the way to Russia, like with actual peoples that still exist today in some form. I've played games with so many kids of different ages because of my job. So having worked at other wargaming shops as well, I've played Flames of War with 10-year-olds, and it's straightforward enough that they can pick it up and play. Yeah. But then to turn around and say, well, now what you need to do is buy £75 worth of stuff is always really tricky. It really is. When I know my wife's really been getting into Burrows and Badgers, which I saw that Steve put out a fantastic video of his painting some of his guys. But it's again, sort of sitting down with the kids and getting them to look at it. They weren't brought up on Animals of Farthing Wood or Redwall, even though I've desperately tried to read them, tried to read Redwall to the kids. But it just doesn't pique their interest, because when it comes to talking animals, they've got Peppa Pig. Yeah. And as much as it would be really funny to do some miniaturized Peppa Pig war game.
I'm sure somebody's done it.
Yeah, I'm sure they have. It's I think it's interesting, but I don't know. I'm looking at my shelf of games that I play, but I think that wargaming, especially historical wargaming, is very hard to find one that will cater to children. And I am talking about younger children. I'm talking like the under, sort of 12 and under, most probably 10s and under. Because by age 12, actually, I think the capacity to read rules, to understand the strategy of what you're supposed to be doing, albeit picking up the right coloured dice for anything, I think that's there. The brain kind of goes through that process of going from fluid to concrete learning. But under that age range, I think it's a real. So I'm going to make it sound really negative, and I don't want it to. I think it's a real minefield, because you can't pick up a game and say, "Let's play." Let's play. Bloody Barons from Peter Pig, because I don't think the kids are going to really be able to grasp that. And I think Short question, short answer would have been what I should have aimed for. But I think the best war game you can play with kids is one where there are no rules, and you each have about 5 toys aside, and they do whatever the kids kind of want. You know, arguably going to the level of the old Little Wars for Boys and Clever Girls, all the way back to the beginning with H.G. Wells, isn't it?
Tom, have you ever seen the Junior Wargaming or Junior General site? I can't quite remember what it's called now.
No, I haven't.
It's certainly fun. So
I think I should.
It's either called Wargaming Junior General or Junior Wargames.
Okay.
It's a website that has got dozens and dozens of games that are designed at the younger person.
Oh, wonderful.
Generally using cardboard figures or easily available airfix. It's called Junior General.
Oh, fantastic. Thank you.
Yeah. And there's stuff in there from earliest biblical times through to science fiction. With how to fight Naseby, or Gettysburg, with some very simple, straightforward rules on it. Figures that you can cut out and glue together, paper standard type things. But it's actually quite a good resource for any wargamer, not just somebody who wants to introduce it in a school environment or something. Mm-hmm. That'd be worth just checking that out. Peter's made a follow-up comment here.
Don't we all be? I don't know.
I know there's a My Little Pony role-playing game, isn't there?
There is?
There is, yeah.
A friend of mine.
My Little Pony. Yeah.
We're
talking about Paper Soldiers. That's what I'm playing with tomorrow.
Yeah, you've done this before, haven't you, actually?
Yeah, a friend of mine at the club has a few options. Yeah.
That's cool. Is it Peter Dennis, is it? Or
we're playing Pikeman's Lament using Paper Soldiers.
Yeah. Oh, cool.
I think so, yeah. Peter Dennis, isn't it? Those.
Yeah, he's actually based them on MDF. So he's actually put them on MDF bases and stuck them to either side of MDF pieces.
Oh, okay.
So right. To get stand up type of stand. Yeah.
Very good.
I'll put some pictures up. I'll probably put a video up tomorrow sometime.
That sounds good. So I say the other thing, I'm going back to what have I been up to. The other thing is I've bought myself. It's not a Merkin. It's that rubberized coconut fiber stuff. Because with an intent to start playing games at home a little bit more, just because I found it's a lot easier now for me to invite people over. I'm having to make my own terrain for the first time in my life, and watching some of Mel the terrain tutor's videos on, budget terrain.
Yes,
it's been nice to sort of try something different.
Got Alex in the house. Hi, Alex. How are you? Hope you're well.
Hey, buddy.
Hope his head hasn't swollen too much after the praise I heaped on him for the last Chain of Command video, the Battle of Mons one. It's got me looking back at Chain of Command actually, which I haven't done in a long time.
Do you know what? I've wanted to do the First World War Chain of Command for a while, but I've never really kind of bitten the bullet on it. But I think, I might have been swayed.
Evening, Alex. Just had to go and get some chocolate and some brain leather.
Very nice. Making your own terrain for the first time must be an interesting experience, actually, for you.
Yeah, it's I think I was mentioning this either in the last chat or the one before. I come from a wargaming age of everything's done for you. You can just go and buy all the bits and bobs that you want and not really engage brain too much. But having had a photo frame, sort of a big poster frame, so I've just seen Alex has just walked there. Having had to pull apart an old photo frame, had a ginormous sheet of sort of 3mm MDF in the back of it.
Oh.
And it just was one of those moments of, well, do you know what? Let's just use it. Just use it as basing for some terrain pieces.
Yeah.
And I'll let you know how it goes on.
So somebody on Twitter today has said that, or it might have been yesterday, saying that they'd had a piece of furniture delivered, and there were some wooden struts that would form part of the packaging, which was sort of 3 mil deep and I don't know, about 3 or 4 foot long, plus a heck of a lot of white polystyrene. And he made the comment that his wife says, "Are you throwing all that rubbish out?" And he's thinking, "No."
No.
There you go. Steve's got some to hand, ready for.
There you go.
Rubbish.
Not rubbish.
New washing machine arrived yesterday.
Ah, there you go.
Very
so you've
nice.
salvaged the
You never knew.
important bit.
You never knew. You never know.
Okay.
Dude.
So, shall we get onto a topic that we chose?
Yeah.
Nobody said anything about it.
We came up with about we've come up with about half a dozen over the last week or so, haven't we?
Indeed, we have.
Actually, instead of us discussing this on our WhatsApp group, why don't we use it as the theme?
I think it's a good idea.
So, Alex is saying if you pop over to a wood shop, they usually have tons of MDF offcuts for pennies. That's a good one.
Oh, okay. Unfortunately, where I live, they're all a bit too conservative. And I don't think we have a wood shop locally, but I will definitely have a bit of a Google. Thank you, Alex. That's appreciated. So it does really painfully bring up just how sheltered my wargaming experience has been sometimes.
Evening, all
just, oh, hello, Duncan. Just when I kind of go, well, where do I find a wood shop? Because it might just be a really poor reflection on how sort of commercial my life is. But just when they say, just pop down to your local DIY place and they'll be able to get yourself a load of the high density foam. And I'm just like, all right, well, I'll pop down to B&Q, right? Is that where I need to go? No.
Alex says World War I wargaming topic. Well, that will come. That will come.
Yeah.
So I've been having some very interesting chats with a couple of people now about First World War wargaming. Robert Dunlop being one who was co-author of the Great War Spearhead Rules. In fact, he's due on my podcast, and I should have been speaking to him tomorrow night, but I've got to postpone. But no, the topic, I think we all agreed. Steve will probably fall off his chair now and deny whatever. I think we agreed on, was it projects? Something
I just nod.
Sorry? He's going to nod.
I just nod.
Okay. Yeah, he'll nod.
Yeah, projects and how to get into them.
Projects and how to get into them, because we all, I've started my section off by saying
his fault.
I think the modern
that's why I get
is
his fault. Sean made me do it.
I'm going to prod you back. Don't put your head too close to the thing there. I haven't got any projects at the minute. That's sort of I've got a target to complete with. I've got lots of ongoing things, like the 15 mil and 6 mil now American War of Independence. This 15 mil is probably at the stage where I could have a decent sized game with, I suppose. But I just keep painting the odd unit here or there and adding it to the collection, or the pirate ships. Interesting, my club's opening next Friday, and I'm going to get a game in with those for the first time, which will be good. But the Wars of the Roses is ticking over in the background. I've got some World War II figures here. I think these are actually Battlefront plastics.
Yeah. I recognise that.
Yeah.
Oh, sweet.
Just having a little tickle around with those. So at the moment, I'm sort of without focus, and I'm quite enjoying being without focus. However, when I do get focused, most recently with my Antietam project for the American Civil War 6mm.
That was crazy.
I sat down in.
That was mad at me.
Yeah, it was. Well, I thoroughly enjoyed it actually. I sat down in a coffee shop.
What you achieved? Wow.
Well, it's all about technique, isn't it? And knowing which corners can be cut. But I sat down in a coffee shop in October last year, just with a notebook, and was making a few plans as to how I could get through this mountain of 6mm lead that I'd purchased a year previously from Bacchus. So it had originally, the idea had been born through Little Wars TV, because they do, and I think Antietam was one of their first battle reports actually, first or second episode, and I was just taken with it because American Civil War being my principal, or one of my principal periods of interest, I thought if I can do Antietam on a 6x4 table with those figures using those rules, then that sounds right up my street. So I immediately went out and placed an order for the entire order of battle with Bacchus.
Very cool.
Then when I went to pick it up from Bacchus at the parties annuals I collected, Lindy, Peter's soon-to-be wife, said to me, "What on earth have you bought here?" And she handed me this huge bag of lead that weighed about 2.5 kilos.
Oh wow!
And it's 6mm figures. That's a lot of figures.
Jesus.
And through no sort of intentional pushing it to one side, I just didn't get round to them. Excuse me. Just didn't get round to them. But I sat down in this coffee shop in that October and I thought, well, realistically, how quickly can I get this project done from start to finish? Knowing that there'd be various points along the way as I painted figures that I'd have enough figures for some of the smaller battles. So First Bull Run, for instance, was the first target, which is in Ultra Freedom is a really small battle. And then Shiloh following that. Or what's the one you did?
Champion Hill.
Champion Hill. So that they were waiting.
Yeah, that's quite a small one as well.
As I painted these figures for either side, and I sat down and I actually went into as much detail as thinking how many painting sessions can I realistically achieve in a week of an hour long. So I said two hours of painting, 2 1-hour painting sessions as a minimum. And how much can I get painted in that time? Well, I knew that through a bit of practice, I could paint up 2 brigades in 1 hour. So 30 minutes to paint 1 brigade. Through the method that Alex has mentioned on the screen here, that he puts so many corners in a project that goes out. Just through cutting corners and accepting that these aren't going to be exhibit pieces. These are wargaming pieces. And when you've got one 6mm figure in amongst 2,500 6mm figures, I'm not particularly bothered if I've missed a strap or I've splodged a little bit here or there, as long as the overall look is the same. So I'd worked out that if I could paint 4 brigades a week continually throughout the project, that's 2 1-hour sessions, I'd be done by April. I think Salute. That didn't happen. Was the sort of target. But in actual fact, because my enthusiasm was up for the project, and I was buying. I started to buy American Civil War books like they've gone out of fashion. Not that I haven't got enough, but I was finding more and more that I was interested. I'd just sit in front of the laptop watching an online lecture from some college in the States talking. And I absolutely whizzed through the first 1,600 or so figures.
Wow.
By the time January came round, I was 2/3 of the way through the project.
Brilliant.
And I was really pleased, but then I burnt out.
It was crazy, mate.
And burnout's another issue, isn't it?
But, massively, yeah.
I don't think I painted anything for the entirety of January, and then came back to it in the February, refreshed, and then completed the whole thing. I don't know, early March, I think. So way ahead of schedule. I'm not saying that that's the right way to do things, but just by having that timeline and a realistic idea of how much I could get painted in a week.
Yeah, definitely.
I know, Steve, you paint nearly every night, don't you? Nearly every day.
Yeah, Steve? I paint every day.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Tom,
I paint every day.
Yeah. Tom, I don't know if you paint every day or not, or...
No, it's there have been times in my life where I have, but of recent, it's just been. I only really get to paint when we do this at the moment. Just kids being at home or not at home, or COVID sending people this way and that way. It's not. It's not fair on my wife, who gets left sort of with grumpy kids who want nothing better to do than scream at each other. So I mean, at the moment I get 2 hours every week or so. But but then come next September, when hopefully things get a bit more of a routine again. Who knows? I don't want to curse it. Potentially I can get 2 hours a day in the mornings. But there
is an element, isn't there? And obviously not in your case, but I think a lot of people say I haven't got time for painting, but they'll spend 3 hours scrolling through Facebook and Twitter. And then I think that's more down to motivation, energy levels, inspiration. It's certainly the case with me, because I will waste inordinate amount of times on social media that I shouldn't really, because I'm looking at stuff that might anger me or trigger me off in some way, or something that I get engrossed in, and that it sends me down a rabbit hole, and suddenly I'm looking at a whole new project that I never knew I wanted.
The thing is, it's quite a common. I keep coming across it in wargaming. Is that it's a very common theme, is that actually the avoidance of dealing with said, project or whatever is really facilitated by the likes of Facebook and Instagram and Twitter and whatever, because you don't want to be beholden to this war game. You want it to be fun. And I think quite often it can get lost into the realms of becoming a chore.
I think I was at that stage, to be honest, from the end of December last year, because I'd set myself in all these figures down. I don't know what Steve's doing, but it sounds like some home renovation.
Murdering someone,
yeah. Oh, what's this?
We've got more paint.
I forgot your paint, right?
That's a disadvantage. If you're painting outside. I've already got a certain amount of paints out, mate. Thinking I brought everything out, and suddenly realising, don't.
Yeah, easily done.
So I sort of ran out of steam.
Don't talk to me about home renovating.
I'd run out of steam by the end of December, and then just with the whole Christmas period, New Year, it took a while just to get myself kicked back in again, I think.
Absolutely.
And just find that inspiration and enthusiasm to sit down and paint. And then having a busy work life, family life, my daughter is out at activities 6 days a week. And then also finding time to sit downstairs with the wife and enjoy maybe each other's company, a little bit of TV or something. Usually about one box set on the go at the same time.
You enjoy your wife's company?
From time to time. So yeah, we'll generally just have one box set thing on the go at any one time that we might watch 2 or 3 episodes a week of. But I don't want to be sat up here in my office, and she's downstairs on her own.
I'm always quite lucky when it comes to stuff like that.
Say again, Steve.
I'm quite lucky when it comes to stuff. I said I'm quite lucky when it comes to stuff like that, because my wife's a bit of an early bird, So she's always up early. I'm a bit of a night owl. So she'll be up early in the morning. And be doing whatever she wants to do herself. Well, yeah. And then we do things together during the day. And then on the evening, like most of the time, 9 o'clock, she's, I'm off to bed.
Yeah.
And then that's where I get a lot of my painting time in.
Yeah.
Between like those like 9 till say like midnight, I can get 2-3 hours worth of painting in.
2 to 3 hours painting every night. Or most
nights.
You get a lot done.
Well, the thing is, it's like I always find it's the difficulty is starting. And once you got that paintbrush or you got that knife out to do a bit of modeling, and you've started, you put something on like YouTube or you put a podcast on or something like that, and you put that that paintbrush to the model, and then before you know it, 2 hours have gone by, and you painted a load of figures.
You're absolutely bang on.
And you've listened to 2 podcasts, and you know what I mean, and everything else in the world, everything in your life, everything, all the stresses and hassle and grief that you might be facing in your daytime jobs or you know what I mean, your home life and that just all goes out the window because all you're concentrating on and all you're thinking about is your toys.
100%.
And that's why I enjoy it so much.
That is
it's a relief for me.
I think that's probably going to be the best thing said tonight, Steve, because I agree with it 100% that it is that starting bit. Because I quite often find myself sat downstairs and I'm flicking through YouTube or whatever, and I think the house is empty for a couple of hours. It's a perfect time for me to go upstairs and crack on with getting some painting done. But then when I talk to myself in those terms, it almost turns into a chore. Well, if I don't do it now, when am I going to get it done? I need to get these figures done. If I don't do it now, when? So, but if I do manage to get upstairs at that point, or just have an ad hoc painting session where I might only think I'm going to do 10 or 15 minutes, just getting that brush picking the brush up, getting a little bit of paint on your palette, and putting it on that first figure, and you're away, aren't you?
Mm-hmm. Massively.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, definitely. And
it's one thing I really enjoyed about the wet palette as well. Yeah, that's it. Just with the wet palette, it allows me to kind of, sneak in a sort of half an hour or 20-minute paint.
Yeah.
And knowing that when I come back, the stupid colour I've decided to mix up because I'm being a painting snob will probably still be wet. I do say probably, it won't always be. But, and it's just, And someone described it like it's a long old friend, someone that you don't actually need to see every day.
Yeah.
But when you do sit in that chair or whatever, that the models aren't going to have gone anywhere. They may have Toy Story'd themselves here, there, and everywhere, but
they've always got back in time for you to paint them.
Precisely. And there's no judgment. I'm pretty sure most of my models judge me constantly because I judge myself by them. But I think there is something very cathartic about when you do finally get that time, make that time, whatever you want to call it, to just sit and enjoy your hobby.
Yeah.
But when it comes to sort of doing projects, I say but, that makes it sound like going to go on a negative here. But I think when it comes to doing projects, they can make or break that buzz, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
You go, I don't know how well you can hear it, but I've got my little drawer that I keep pulling out. There's nothing on there I'm going to paint. I've got some Peter Pig, English Civil War pikemen.
Yeah.
I've got no idea why, but I've got some late medieval periplastic mercenaries. What else we got? Iron Brigade. Some are blue, some are grey. What else we got? Goodness me.
Yeah.
There's about 6 projects on that tray.
Yeah.
And luckily you can't see behind the camera. Because then there's everything else. And,
but how many wargamers do you know that haven't got that?
Oh, absolutely.
Haven't got doesn't. I know probably 2 or 3 that I've met either through the podcast or in person. People who. So this was an interesting one. John Hetherington, who runs a blog called Heretical Wargaming. Very good 6mm wargaming blog. Really good. Almost all solo play. And he runs these very detailed solo campaigns, going into a lot of detail with movements, and generally in the ancient period or in the Civil War.
Yeah.
But he will only have roughly half a day. What he says is half a day's worth of painting in stock to fall back on. So if he fancies a day's painting, he'll have enough figures that he can paint in one afternoon before he needs to order the next batch, and it's never been any different.
That's interesting.
How's he still seeing life?
I know, exactly. A guy down at Weymouth.
I thought you died if you ever finished your life.
I know. Always keep one in your sock drawer. Is the tip I was given. Stuart Meacham down at the Weymouth Levellers. He paints. He's never got a lead pile, so he will generally collect and paint the figures for both sides, whatever rules Peter Pig are producing at that point in time. He will collect and paint both sides. He'll get the scenery, and that's it. He won't go off on a tangent and get distracted by a 28mm First World War or 6mm Napoleonics. You know, in a fit of excitement, as I can do when I wake up in the morning and think, 2mm Austerlitz.
Yeah.
Do that. 2mm Austerlitz.
15mm AK-47.
15mm AK. Have you felt the temptation at all, Steve? I don't know. They're very beautiful figures. I could sell you an army, but I don't want to distract you from. I'm going to sneeze. Excuse me.
I would bless them, but I worry what would happen if we did. It might burst into flames.
The problem is, the main problem is, he shows me those videos and shows me that stuff. Then next minute, 2 days later, he sends me a beautiful picture of some Vietnam scenery. It's like,
yeah.
What am I to do?
What is a man to do? What is a man to do?
Yeah,
I know.
You can resist anything but temptation.
Yeah. So it's one thing that I find quite fascinating, because in my gaming group we've got a vast spectrum of time and financial assets, shall we say, when it comes to wargaming. You know, as daft as it is, at the bottom end of it when it comes to money is myself being unable to work, etc., etc. You know, on the other end we've got someone who works very, very hard, you know, and gets paid accordingly. And what fascinates me is that we're both as bad as each other, and this kind of like, well, let's just start something a bit different, which is why we've got 28mm Samurai for basic impetus, and why we've got, you know, Congo stuff that neither of us have bothered to paint.
Congo, oh my goodness, that's something I've been tempted with in the past.
Do you know, I love the figures, but I've managed to paint 6 out of like the 20 that I got. Interestingly, just not to sort of sway you, I think North Star are currently doing a discount on the Congo starter boxes. But,
don't tell him that. Yeah. Don't tell him that.
Join us.
Exactly. Look.
I told you about that moment of weakness that I had in the week with the 28mm bolt action stuff.
Yeah, it's a good weakness to have.
It is a good weakness, and I'm looking for. I've had the dispatch note from Warlord Games, so
very much
nice. But you see that I'm looking on that and talking about projects. I'm looking on that as a very small project, in that there's that the Captain Miller campaign that Bolt Action do, or Warlord, which basically traces the action from the Saving Private Ryan film, using their one-to-one skirmish.
Yeah.
You know, that's very small firefighter, Bolt Action Firefighter, I think it's called.
Yeah.
So I appreciate that it's no chain of command, And having watched Alex's video the other day, and I've watched I can't say I've watched every single video he's done, but I've watched the vast majority of videos he's done. And Chain of Command absolutely tickles my fancy. But I've just never got anybody interested in it around.
Good game.
Yeah, I mean, it's the game that I've put probably the most effort into in the last 2 or 3 years.
Yeah.
It made me actually finish a 28mm Panzer Lehr project, and then lo and behold, the year after I finished painting up these Germans that I've desperately tried to make look like Panzer Lehr, both Warlord and War Games Atlantic say, "Oh yeah, we're going to do some nice, specifically sculpted Panzer Lehr miniatures." Like, cheers, guys! I might just buy another German army because why not?
Yeah,
But,
why not?
yeah, well, why not? I think there's it starts with D and ends with Ivorce if I was to do another German. But it's
that's a project that if you look through I think there's 5 or 6 scenarios that track the course of the film, and at most you're talking 15 US Rangers maybe, and 20-25 Germans, and maybe a couple of
but you ain't gonna stick to it. You're not gonna stick to it. Why are you even kidding yourself, mate?
Well, this is how we survive from one day to the next, by kidding ourselves.
Exactly.
Because I've already looked at the Band of Brothers starter set, which is about to be superseded, I believe. But in there, are we still there? Sorry, I've just lost you off the screen. So there's US Paras. So I need to do something with them.
The thing is, it's one of those. I think this is what I was talking about on the WhatsApp. Is that when we start these projects, it's very easy to kind of go, well, I'm buying these models because they're going to play this game. When actually, especially with with the exception of anything outside of historical, these the models you buy, in whatever scale, could play anything, can't they? Yeah. And I think it's you bought bolt action stuff and you're going to look at doing their firefight. I mean, that's probably just the convenience of, well, it's going to come with those rules, isn't it?
Yeah.
And I always, something that always fascinates me is that I started this Iron Brigade sort of project at the very beginning of the year, going, oh yeah, I'll have it all done by whatever September. I haven't even bought everything for it yet, but but it's because I set myself this target of it has to be for sharp practice, because I don't know any other. Now I don't know any other skirmish American Civil War rules. I was like, yeah, but I do own Rebels and Patriots, which is again sort of large skirmish.
Yes.
And it does make me wonder. You're saying. You've brought yourself into this, and you're wondering, are you actually going to get it done, etc., etc. Obviously, we know you will.
Only if it's through peer pressure. The WhatsApp.
Well, exactly. I'll be asking you every single day. But my MG42's got to have something to eat.
Done it yet? Have you done it yet? Have you done it yet?
Yeah.
Have you done it yet? Have you done it yet?
But then
have you done it yet?
But that's another side of it, isn't it? Is that how do you stay motivated?
How do you stay motivated?
Yeah, because actually, it's like you were saying with your 6mm project. You do hit that brick wall of here we go again, or I've managed to do all the really cool stuff, and now I'm going to have to trudge through all the limbers.
Yes.
Or, for me, I hate painting horses, which is why I'm currently slapping paint on this one like it's. It's a Bob Ross moment going on here, but
right, happy little accidents. Yeah,
exactly. Yeah,
contrast paints, mate. That's what you need for horses.
Have you seen?
Contrast paint them up.
Have you seen Ken Riley's tweet today, Tom? Yorkshire Gamer.
Which one? Short answer is probably
horses.
yes.
Painting horses with oils.
I did see it, but I didn't read it.
He's painted something like 136 horses this morning.
Yeah, I do remember seeing that and just thinking, "Go away, Ken."
Yeah.
I was thinking, "Shut up and stop making me look bad."
Yeah.
Yeah. Do you know what? It's really odd though, because I went through a
hate
phase on Instagram of like making sure my hashtags were woke, or I don't know, were appropriate. And I remember I deliberately Googled, what breed or what I suppose breed of horses were used by the Confederates officers.
Yeah.
And I got, and it was kind of like, oh, well, there's technically only these two breeds, and this is what they look like. So I used one of those as a hashtag, and I got something in the region of like 100 additional likes of people who would never normally look at 28mm plastic toy soldiers because they're all horse people. Yeah, exactly. There's these American horse enthusiasts who are kind of coming out of the woodwork. Yeah. But whereas this one's currently being painted in the Foundry African Flesh Triad because I haven't used it yet and I need an excuse to get it open. So,
do you know what? If I could afford it, and I would only do it this way, I wouldn't do piecemeal. If I could afford to buy the entire set of Foundry Triads, so I've got every color I wanted as a triad.
Yeah,
I would love that, because I when they first came out, I used them quite a lot. I was painting back then 28mm American Civil War, funnily enough. Painted up a big collection of Redoubt miniatures, ACW as that was released. And I used the Foundry Triads, and I loved it. But now, and I've still got one or two of those paints around, but my painting's changed so much now, where it's just really base coat and wash. But if I was going to go into trying to up my level of painting again to a better standard, then that's the way I would go, most definitely.
It's interesting, isn't it?
Yeah.
Well, I quite often will I'll actually go and buy a Foundry Triad when I start a new project. So I bought the Union blue, sort of jacket blue, for the Iron Brigade. I mean, I bought it, and the first thing the person next to me, or whatever, what was it? Because I bought the paint before I bought the models. But the guy at the show was like, "Oh, you're going to find it way too dark. Or you're not going to be able to see the difference in the layers." And I was just like, I don't care. Honestly, at the moment, I'm going to go home and paint it on a 28mm plastic Confederate because that's all I've got lurking.
Yeah.
But I find they actually, talking about what keeps you going. For me, the ease of painting something really gets it going.
Find something not too fussy. Something not too fussy. So don't go in with old guard Napoleonics.
Oh goodness, yeah. Well, that's the other side of it, is having done Napoleonic reenactment, wanting to do a King's German Legion.
What are you doing, Steve? You've got a smile on your face, and there's a very odd sound.
Weird slapping.
Yeah.
It's my dogs, mate.
Oh, okay, that's all right then. I'm relieved.
That's good to say. As long as he's not,
Yeah.
Well, cross-eyed. It's like, I'm fine.
Oh dear.
So, if you were to do something basic, what would your choice be then? If you were looking to kickstart your enthusiasm, would it be something like American Civil War?
What, as in to start a new one, or?
Well, just to sort of really get your juices flowing again. If you've had a little break from painting, or you're talking about something unfussy and uncomplicated, just to kickstart that enthusiasm.
Do you know, it nearly is always American Civil War, because if I want to paint something that's in a uniform, I've got every Union force under the sun. Some of them have got the different uniforms, but otherwise very similar.
Yeah.
Or if I want to do something with a bit of colour, I like, I'll go to that stereotyped Confederate, infantryman in his lovely checkered shirt and pair of jeans, or it's not all jeans, but in that style of the rugged rebel.
Yeah.
It gives me an opportunity. Well, a bit of both, isn't it? Yeah. Depends if they're cavalry or not, right?
That's it. Yeah, there you go. Yeah.
But for me, it really is, because I look at the two different forces I've got for sharp practice. They're miles apart. The Confederates I've got are a wonderful kaleidoscope of different styles of color and clothing and fabric, because I was really enjoying painting them, so I made the effort to put some of them into actual textured shirts, and others are just button up because it looks fantastic. I think but also in but I'm predominantly going to stick to 28mm though to get me going, because I know how to cheat and make them look nice, and to take photos of them so they look nice, so I can share them with people and have my ego stroked. And I think
they go, Tom, how wonderful.
Yeah, exactly. And as egotistical as it sounds, or even narcissistic as it sounds, actually, I do find that a lot of my drive to get something started comes from actually the hobby community around me going, yeah, you've done a good job on that. And I go, oh, excellent. If that one looked good, the next 150 of them can look, naff. Oh, yeah, no, that's it. Yeah, better. That's it. But it's, and I think American Civil War for me is always going to be that easy win, because you've got options, you really do. How about yourself? What about you two? What do you find is the easiest to get you fired up again? Well, it's hard for Steve because he's always painting. But
but so interesting one for you then, Steve. Steve's lagging a bit. Are you with us? You've been painting almost Wars of the Roses now, almost exclusively, haven't you, for a good while? So how do you keep that enthusiasm going?
Yep. I suppose it all depends what I'm actually painting.
Yeah.
It's difficult to say, really. It's just a matter of, if I'm really enjoying it, I'll just carry on painting it. I think it's because there's no pressure.
Yeah, is it something that you don't particularly think about then, do you think? It's not particularly an issue with you?
Well, no. I get situations in it. I do get situations where I do get fed up after a while painting armies.
Yeah.
But I always like to get to a stage in an army where I can just leave it. It won't make any difference. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, I'll paint, say, Kings of War army. I'll carry on painting that until I've got over 2,000 points.
Yes.
It's just fixated in me. I'll do it.
Because that's a good.
But then after that,
isn't it?
Yeah. But after that, I go, well, if I get bored of it, paint the next unit. Then after I finish that unit, that I go away, and even though I might have 10 more units to do, I'll just do that at a time when I want to do it.
Yeah.
But these Night Stalkers, I've had these on the go for a while. I've got about 2,500 points of them painted now.
Yeah.
So there's no rush to get this one done.
Interesting.
You know what I mean? I probably got about another 8 units to get actually finish the army, but I mean, no rush.
So in some ways, there's a lot of self-discipline, then, isn't it, Steve? Well, it sounds like it's a lot of just got to get it done, so you get it done.
I think it helps with me as well because I'm a member of a regular club as well.
Yeah.
So normally when I get into a project, like I posted that up today about the Bears and Badgers and I filmed that. When we first got into Bears and Badgers, everybody was really infused, and because I'm an avid painter, I was like, I only need, say, 10 models to have a good collection for a game like that. Well, 2 weeks and I had 10 models done. So
yeah.
So whenever something comes up at my club, if I'm playing once a week, say, I get into a new project, other people are getting into that same project. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So then you're almost like, oh, what do you get done this week? It's like we still, even though we've been back at club, there's still a group of us that meet up on a Thursday night for like a club painting session, and that is so motivating because it's like, oh, what are you painting this week? Well, we got the Stargrave campaign. Oh, I'm doing my Stargrave crew. Oh, right, yeah. Oh, yeah, I'll get my crew out and start painting that. Or there's a couple of us going to the Kings of War tournament. There's a couple of us painting. There's a couple of lads painting armies for that. Like, even though I don't need to, But you know what I mean? You just go, we're playing Kings of War. Oh, I might start painting a bit of Kings of War myself, you know. But I think having people around you does help you to motivate you. You know what I mean? So
I think for me, it's not forcing the issue. Yeah, it's just not forcing the issue. If you're not interested and got no enthusiasm, just leave it for a day or a week. They'll still be there. You know, they're not. Nobody's going to come in and steal them away from you.
Yeah.
And also,
so you don't know my kids.
and also the what I was mentioning earlier, because I've got little focus at the moment on a single project. I'm just really enjoying jumping around from one era or period to another.
Yeah.
Whether that's a bit of fantasy or sci-fi with romantic stuff, whether it's 6mm with the War of Independence stuff that I've been prepping this afternoon, whether it's the Wars of the Roses figures I'm painting now. I'm just literally whatever takes my fancy when I sit down is what I pick up, because I've got that many different little bits and pieces on the go. And I know that there's
painting those Yorkish dogs.
Yeah. The 6mm War of Independence stuff is for Guildford Courthouse, and there's a scenario in a rule set that I'm going to use called Rue de Guerre from Bacchus's Polymos selection of rules. And that just gives me a nice contained project, a bit like the Bolt Action Firefight thing. It's probably about 40 bases of infantry, I would say, of 24 figures, like that. Which I know that I can rattle off. Yeah, well, it's certainly something that can be achieved in fairly short order. I know at some point I'm going to knuckle down and power through them. At the moment, I've been just painting 1 or 2 units here and there as it's taken my fancy, because having painted so much 6mm over that 6-month period, say between October and March, April, I wanted a bit of a palette cleanser, which is why I pulled out the Peter Pickford.
And that led you down a whole new path again, didn't it?
Yeah, it did.
And you're loving it.
I am absolutely loving it at the moment. Particularly been involved in the play testing again for their new rules, the Mexican Revolution, which is a period I've never.
That's a very interesting period. That's a very odd, interesting, very interesting period. I know, it's crazy, isn't it?
It's 10 years of constant fighting. I mean, how many wars do we know of that lasted 10 years, other than the 100 Years' War and the 30 Years' War, before anyone said anything? The American Civil War.
The 10 Years' War.
Napoleonic War. Okay, that was a bad example. Ignore that.
It wasn't constant fighting, though, was it? I mean, it was.
No, it was lots of different wars, wasn't it? Essentially.
Yeah, I think the War of the Roses we're doing now. As you said, you had that period where you didn't have
long period
of
no conflict. Yeah.
It's fascinating. Yeah. So, I mean, with you two, what is there something that really kind of, I don't know, spurs you on to try a new system? Is it being able to do play testing? Is it, movie or books or anything like that? Or do you just sometimes see a model and go, "Oh, that one's nice. I want 1,000 of them"?
All of the above, I think. The answer is.
Yeah.
Literally.
It can be. Yeah.
It's interesting.
But we get these messages in a person called Sean, and then next minute you go down a rabbit hole.
Enabler. I'm an enabler.
That's
the phrase for it.
You want to collect this, don't you, Steve? That's what he says. He said to me a picture. He said, you want to collect these, don't you?
But it's subliminal.
I wasn't thinking about collecting them, but
now you mention it.
No, as I said. Yeah, but as I said, having quite a big community around me, with being an active member of quite a large wargaming club. I did club on a Sunday evening, and literally between actually playing a game, you're walking around looking at the other games, and no matter times you'll just see something, or you'll hear someone, or you're talking to someone about a game, and next minute you know it's like you get home, you're on the YouTubes and on the interwebs going, oh, so how much does it cost to buy some Wild West figures, or you know what I mean? Because that's been playing down our club. A couple people bend the dead man's hand, so it's like, yeah, well, I think I'll order that rule, but.
See, I really can't comment on Sean's behaviour because I'm the enabler in my group of gamers, and have been given a word or two in the past of maybe I should stop telling people to play games. But it's fascinating because there's no one in my group that really kind of turns around to me and says, "Let's play this on a regular basis." My friend Dave is probably the nearest culprit to let's pick up something random. But it's I do not take any convincing. You could ask if I wanted to play, I don't know, Papua New Guinean village conflict, and I'd probably buy into it because why not? It's toys. Well, it's miniatures, but this is it.
I think that is like most of us, as I said. You know what I mean? Literally, I can be, as I said, you know what I mean? I don't own Pikeman's Lament, but because my mate wanted a game of it a while back, he said, "Oh, I got the models. Do you want to play it?" Like, oh, yeah, okay. And we're probably about our fifth or sixth game. You know what I mean? But
awesome, yeah. And I think one thing I keep coming across is when you start a project with other people. It's that unfortunate moment where someone else goes, "Well, I'm bored."
Yeah.
And you go, "Oh, well, I've just forked out all of this."
That's a killer.
Yeah.
So that I think quite often what happens in my case is, because I've experienced that so many times, is that I will collect both sides and do the entire project myself.
Yeah, that's something that I've come into pretty much in the last year.
Yeah.
But I know
it is a good thing to do.
Yeah.
I've introduced people many to our club. Like Kings of War is a classic example. You know what I mean? We started off with probably only a couple of us playing it, and now we probably got about 10, 12 members that have played it. And the amount of those members I've got into it, literally by, oh yeah, you want to give it a go? Right, well, I got multiple armies, I'll bring a couple down. I want to have a game. Finish the game, and they're like, oh yeah, so where do I buy these models from? Where do I buy these?
Let them win. Let them win.
Yeah, absolutely.
You'll know that, Tom, from your GW
days. No, you never let the kids win. Smash them into the ground and say, "You're rubbish, buy a better army."
Show no mercy.
Loser. Yeah. My Space Marine has 20 million wounds because I'm in charge.
You don't want those cheap models over there. Rubbish. You want those really expensive ones over there. Those are the ones you need to get your parents to buy. They're the best ones. They will make you win every game.
1+ with the reroll.
Yeah, absolutely. Do you know, it's the one thing I got in a lot of trouble for was convincing people to buy what they liked, not what we needed to sell them.
Yeah.
And look at me, the martyr. Oh, aren't I wonderful? I didn't do it to everyone. There were days where people came in and they clearly just wanted to buy what they wanted to buy. So you let them, and that's fine. But no, I'm not going to talk about GW. I had a less than positive experience during the week about that, and we're not here to talk about negatives.
No. But really, to answer that question, books are a massive thing for me. So I think the best example is the Saxon Chronicles by Bernard Cornwell. The Uhtred saga. So incredibly formulated. You know that in the later books that he's either going to lose his kingdom or gain his kingdom. He's either going to get seriously injured and you think he's about to die, or somebody next to him is going to get an arrow in the eye. There's going to be in a shield wall. He'll be on a ship that sinks, or something something like that. But I love them. They are pure escapism. And I've thoroughly enjoyed every single one of the 13 books in the series. And that led me on. 13.
Wow,
It's just finished. Yeah, the last one was published last year, I think.
Yeah.
Blimey.
So Uhtred is no more, but roughly around about the same time I was getting into those books. And I came to them about 4 or 5 books into the series. Peter Pig were doing their Vikings game, their Longship Vikings game. And goodness me, it was like playing that game was a bit like reading the climactic battle at the end of an Uhtred book. And I just loved it and fell in love with it. But awesome. it can be literally anything. It can be looking at a picture on Twitter. It can be a new release from a company. So Perry's are just about to release Franco-Prussian War.
Oh, I know.
Oh, they look.
Don't need any more tempting on that.
I know. But I know that for me, something like Franco-Prussian War in 28mm will be a pipe dream because they are massive battles. And I know you can play sharp practice type skirmishes, but for me, Franco-Prussian War, I need hundreds and thousands of 6mm.
Yeah.
The huge battles, 200,000 aside.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Got them.
But I can also wake up in the morning and think I'm going to do that as a new project. By lunchtime, I've changed my mind and moved on to something else. And by tea time, I've forgotten both of those, and I'm in eBay looking for cheap figures in a third period.
Yeah.
I am your typical wargame butterfly.
I was going to say, we've got friends of General Haig agreeing with us on Bernard Cornwell.
I haven't looked at messages for a while, actually.
Yeah.
Excuse me.
Well, no, that's good. It's do you know what, it's really interesting because when I played Games Workshop games, there was the formulaic author of William King and his Ragnar Blackmane stories.
Yes.
And Felix, it was always insert character name A, swings his axe and a weapon and figure of 8, and they all did the same thing. And do you know what? It worked. And it's the same for Bernard Cornwell. You could replace Uhtred with Richard or, Starbuck, or a Space Marine. It's lovely because you never feel like you're too.
I loved his Starbuck books. I thought they were
they're good.
I wish he continued with them. I wish he would have continued with them.
Well, I've just started the second one.
Yeah.
What's the second one? Is it Copperhead?
Fantastic.
Copperhead, isn't it?
I think it is. Yeah.
He done a one-off on. He done a one-off on the War of Independence as well, didn't he? Redcoats, which was
the Fort.
He's done 2 actually. Yeah, he's done the Red. He's
done
Redcoats.
Right.
Fort, but Fort is actually very historically based, and there's no fictional characters in it. There might be 1 or 2 fictional characters, but it's almost all. So John Moore of Corunna.
I found Redcoat a very good book to read.
I've not read it actually. Not read it.
It is a good read. It is a very good read.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, I do mean to read those, but like I said, I've just started Copperhead and I haven't finished all the Sharps. And what am I into? Book 4 or 5 of Uhtred? But I have read all of the 100 Years War books, believe it or not.
What did you think of Azincourt?
There's a shocker.
Yeah, no, right. I enjoyed it as a novel.
Well, that's what you've got to take it as. Lesson, is it? I don't think.
Yeah, I think it's very easy to get hung up on. Oh well, I don't think that X, Y, Z would have happened, but actually, I've just started reading a book from whether it was 1971. It was published, and it's bemoaning how these people in 1895 thought all wars should have been fought the way they fought wars. But it's actually one of those you'll never ever be there. You'll never actually know what it was like. And for someone to be able to go, hey, do you know what? This is really fun. Let's write a story about someone called Thomas who has the chest of a bear and likes to wrestle people in churches or whatever it is. I think, Bernard Cornwell does just tap into that that male psyche of, oh, I wanted to be in a war when I could use my knife and sword, and it was well cool in it, and stabby, shooty, twang, pang, you know.
Yeah.
And I think it does work. It's a rip-roaring action story the whole way through, and you know it's entertaining.
Yeah.
You know, 1356. You know, his kind of. Say again.
I said that's what it was all about, though, isn't it? It wasn't entertaining. You know, I mean, would you read it? You know.
Yeah.
Oh, absolutely. You know, the Grail Quest. You know, the first book I read in a matter of weeks. The second book took me 4 years because I was so disinterested in the plot. Like, we're going to find the Grail. Oh, well, there we go. That was tedious because we know we've already seen it, and you know, no spoilers, obviously. But
No.
I think it's good. But when you, I don't know about you guys, but I genuinely have struggled to find another author that grasps me the same way. Now, that might just be because they're not writing about periods I'm interested in. I think quite a few people quite like Simon Scarrow.
Yeah.
Is that Cato and
whoever
it is?
Roman.
Yeah.
Marco.
Yeah. That's it, Marco and Cato. And you know, I've got an interest in them because they're based on legionary and centurions from the Second Legion of Augustus, which is another reenactment group that I was involved in. You know, so I had an interest in reading them, and got halfway through the first one and was like, no, not. It just didn't suck me in. I don't think that's just because I've really not got a lot of interest in Roman history, oddly. I mean, I'd get dressed up and do anything, you know, but hang on. No.
Hang on.
It's Saturday. Oh, it's fine. Yeah, it's fine. But no, it's you know, when it comes to reenactment. But no, I think it's I don't know about you guys. I mean, have you got other authors that really kind of pick you up from the ground and sort of dangle you over the abyss of, you will definitely be buying this new war game now you've read about it?
I would say I mean, there's a plethora of authors in this sort of ancient Rome, ancient Greek, Carthaginian sort of theme, aren't there? The Simon Scarrows and
Ben Kane, another one comes to mind.
Ben Kane, yeah. I'm thinking of the guy, can't remember him now.
Harry Sidebottom?
Harry Sidebottom, thank you. So there's lots out there. And listen, individually, in their own right, I suspect they're all very good books, but it's just not an era or period that interests me. Having said that, Giles Christian has written a lot of Viking-style novels. But interesting with him, his characters go east rather than west.
Well, that's interesting.
So they do come west, I think, initially, but then they end up going east.
Yeah.
Friends of General Haig says...
Yeah, do you know what? I've picked up one of his years ago and just never actually got around to reading it. But it looked, daft it is, I judged the book by its cover and it looked awesome. But just never got around to reading it.
And then Patrick Bryan, of course, with the Maturin series, the Master and Commander thing.
Very good point. Yeah.
So Giles Arnold, as well as the Viking books, he did 2 books on the English Civil War, and they were bloody brilliant. The first one was exceptional. But for some reason, he's never finished it, a bit like the Star book. I suspect it'll be down to sales. But it was really gritty and really believable, and it wasn't cliched so much. And really had a lot of the period flavour.
Yeah.
Here's Ken. We've already talked about Ken.
No, he's here now. We've got to be nice again.
Got to be nice.
Horses.
Talking about your horses, Ken.
Yeah. I've painted one. There you go. I painted a horse in an hour.
In an hour.
I got
a horse. About 70 by then.
Yeah.
Have I got to talk nicely about the Yorkists now?
You can't talk about the Yorkists now. No.
Have I got to talk nicely about the Yorkists now?
Yeah, you must.
Well,
we can't lose another listener.
No. One thing I would bring up on authors.
Only 126 horses.
An author that I came across last year through my dad, actually, just sending me a book. A chap called Justin Hill. Now he's done 2 books now based in Viking era, whatever you want to call it. I'm not going to call it Dark Ages because it's not. But so the first one I read was technically his second book in a sort of trilogy that he's doing of the time. So the first one was about the first one I read was about Howard Hardrada,
Right.
and it's fascinating because he kind of recounts his whole life, being the brother to the famous king of Sweden, so famous I can't remember his name, but the saint, and then how he ends up coming to Britain to support this Oiksum git who wants to be king, and it all horribly going wrong in the end. And the book was just outstanding, really ate through the pages, and the battles are fascinating because it really does the period where he's part of the Varangian Guard, and it's just we didn't do a lot. We kind of bimbled around and ate dates all day long, and then when we did have a fight, we really made a point of being who we were, and I think he wrote it really well. So well that I instantly went and bought what would have been book 1, which is Shield Wall, but it's about an Anglo-Saxon king, and it's based, in the 7th century.
Yeah, that's a reply to Alex about his wet palate.
Yeah,
got ice cubes in it.
my wet palate has run out of water, and that's all that's left. So yeah, but yeah, it's. Projects are an interesting one, aren't they?
Well, I think back on the book side of things, I think most of us, we agree that Cornwall is probably top of the tree for Sharp, for Uhtred. The Arthurian one, what was that called? The Warlord Chronicles. They were very good, I thought.
Yeah.
But other than him, I'm struggling. Giles Christian, I would say, is pretty decent from myself.
Yeah.
I've never
I used to read a lot of.
Hello, can we
go for it, Steve?
Are you there,
yep,
Steve?
I can hear you. I used to read quite a bit of the Alexander Kent novels.
Right. Alexander
Which
Kent,
Naval.
what were they? Naval.
Never heard of it.
I don't.
Naval. It was. I think it's Napoleonic period.
Right.
Okay.
So all around like Nelson and that type of period. So.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, he had a massive series of books.
I've quite enjoyed the Last
I'm not
Kingdom.
a great reader of novels now.
Yeah. I've quite enjoyed the Last Kingdom series on TV. Although it's deviated quite a bit, it's sort of put out quite large chunks of the narrative. Obviously, because of the TV.
Did they move it?
Did what? Sorry.
Didn't they move it onto a different channel?
Yeah, well, it's on Netflix now. Yeah.
Very different budget.
On BBC.
That's why I haven't watched any of it for a long time.
There you go.
Yeah, I watched it when it was on BBC, but
yeah,
that was it.
Yeah.
I was a bit like the Game of Thrones we were talking about earlier on. I was able to watch it originally, the first series, and then I didn't have the ability to watch it for about 3 series. And then by the time I got back, it was like I said about series 4, and it was like I just can't be bothered to catch up with all this nonsense. So
it's,
I'm not a great TV watcher, shall we say?
Yeah, that's fair enough. So as daft as it could be, I have to agree with Alex from Storm of Steel on the Asterix books being a really good way of getting into
Asterix
reading historical, because that's one thing that my son's really got into. Is he absolutely loves it. He loves watching it, loves listening to it, reading it, whatever. He's really got into it, and asked questions about the Romans because of it.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's interesting.
And I seem to remember Alex painted all his Romans with green shields.
Fantastic.
Fitted into the Asterix thing. You need to be careful how you say that. That's true.
Yeah.
Gamer says Alexander Kent, Napoleonic Naval, great books. I know Ken enjoys his naval gaming, not his belly button. And then what we've got here, reading asterisks with my kids reminded me how good they are. I'm not sure the kids get half of the humour. Yes, I'm sure.
Yeah.
I've tried this with. I noticed this very much with Find the Witch in the Wardrobe with my daughter, because the language used in there is very much of the time. If you compare that to sort of how Harry Potter was written, and she laps up Harry Potter because that's how she talks.
Yeah.
Lion the Witch in the Wardrobe is all about public school kids going off on steam trains to aunties long lost who live.
There's a lot of programs and films, but back in the day, you know what I mean. That.
Well, I say always like Hornblower's another
children
one. Yeah.
So
I mean,
I'm here from Ken again. Let's just look what it says. A bit like a damp shop. Hello, a guy called Bolitho from
That's cool.
Yeah.
Yes, it is very good. It is very good.
Yeah. Right, guys, it's been an hour and 3/4. Should we just have a wrap up by saying what next week looks like? Just
I better go inside.
Gone all dark. I know I'm dark. The special guest that we're hoping to get on next week hasn't replied as yet to the messages, so I shall continue to badger him to get on. That's not a clue. It's not somebody from Burrows and Badgers or whatever that goes. So while Steve is sorting his lighting out, Tom, what's the next week looking like for you, hobby-wise?
Next week. So I might be going to play an actual live game with a friend. We might just be meeting up for a drink. I don't know yet.
Wow.
But the hope is to get out and see someone. But that all depends on PCR checks coming back negative for my boy. What else? Hobby-wise, hobby. Building hedges.
Oh, building hedges with that horsehair, rubberized coconut hair.
Yeah.
You did mention that you played an online game as well.
Yes, I meant to say earlier, and I feel really bad, but Joe Wargamer from Twitter, I think he said he'd run a game on Virtual Lard, which is the sort of two fat ladies thing. He on Wednesday night last week ran me through a game of Chain of Command on a 3x4 table, and it was awesome, absolutely fantastic. We did early war. I played as the French, although at the end I conceded because I had, I think, grand total of, I don't know, it was 4 men, a tank, and an anti-tank gun. Although I had the higher force morale, there was definitely no intent of dragging Joe through another half an hour of me going, I move nowhere. So yeah, it was Joe was gone. Yeah, no, Joe was an absolute legend. He really he really helped me get out of a bit of a mental slump just by being someone I'd never met before. But we had a fantastic sort of 2-3 hours of just playing a game on this beautiful board he created. And inevitably, it led to him going and ordering quite a few more minis. And I'm sorry I didn't mention it earlier, but Joe, if you've listened, if you do listen, thank you so much again. He was an absolute legend. And if you get the chance to play with Joe, do take it up because, really great wargamer. So, that was brilliant. But no, so for next week, not sure. I'm going to be fighting transfers onto shields that are too small for them. I think I'm taking stock of what I've got to paint, and I'm gonna stop worrying about the projects having to be finished. Instead, I'm going to enjoy each little step I take on whichever project I pick up. That's what I'm going to do.
Speaking from a man close to my own heart, that is, I don't think that made sense whatsoever, and I'm blaming man flu.
It makes sense. I know what you mean. You're all right.
Yeah. Friends of General Haig says, never accept Turkish delight from strange ladies and slaves. I try not to, General Haig, but you know, it's
Why not?
quite alluring.
Mr. Thomas used to creep me out.
Yeah, he was a weird little fish, wasn't he?
Wasn't it? Oh dear. Lewis
Steve,
Carroll, wasn't he? Yeah.
No, not my cup of tea, to be honest. But Steve, how about you?
As I said, I'm at club again tomorrow night. So Pikeman's Lament.
Exciting. Oh, he's gone.
Have we lost him?
We've lost him. He's been lamented by his pikemen, I think.
He's been lamented. From my own perspective, my club is reopening, and it's
cool.
Just incredible that after so long we're finally going to be opening the doors. There's a lot of people who are still quite nervous about the prospect.
Yeah, definitely.
Understandably, and you know, it's personal choice and personal responsibility, I think. But I'm hopefully playing a game of Pieces of Eight with those pirate ships.
Exciting!
So very much looking forward to that.
Yeah, excellent.
I've got well, I'm just dipping in and out of the bits of painting I've got to do. I wonder if I've got to allow Steve back in. He's there waiting at the stream. There we go.
Hi,
sorry about that, Steve.
You cut me off there, Sean, or what?
No, it wasn't me, mate. No,
it's probably my phone. I think it's my phone, probably. That's why I had to run inside because power was down. So quickly grab the charger. Yes.
So, other than your club night, then, Steve, have anything else lined up in the week?
Painting and the ward races. So, as I said, I'm doing me Yorkist. So I've got some more.
Freezy water banners.
Freezy water banners. Just order some more as well.
Is that Richard's banner I've just seen there somewhere?
Yeah, I got Edward
IV, yeah.
Yeah, there's the livery banners. Just ordered a few more of those, so I'll be mainly concentrating on that.
Yeah.
You never know, I might be purchasing a rule book for a certain African conflict.
Did you see that one on eBay or not?
I may be watching it.
Maybe watching it. Very good.
Maybe watching it.
Alex, thanks very just 2 seconds. Alex is just bowing out. Thanks very much for joining us, Alex. Very good to see you. Keep up the good work. And Ken has got an Italian Wars game tomorrow. I'm off work this week, so the Vallejo will flow.
Good man. Oh, thank you, Ken, as well. Yeah.
Enjoy your games. Cheers, Ken. Good to see you, mate.
I expect to see photos from the Italian Wars game.
Yes.
I want to see that those pike blocks. Yeah. Cool.
6-figure pike blocks at least, I'm sure.
Yeah.
Well, I think next weekend, it's the second part of our club Stargrave campaign.
Oh,
so
brilliant.
it looks like I'll be playing a bit of Stargrave. So
that's something I want to look at.
It's very rare that I have a club night the same each week. You know what I mean? So,
yeah, definitely.
My club's very much like that, mate. We're playing one thing one week and something completely different the next week.
I think I've lined up the games now. I think I've got all of August booked already. So
yeah,
game booked for every day. Every day. That'd be great, wouldn't it?
Yeah,
every Sunday evening now until the end of August now. So
Dead Zone's one I really want to get back on the table.
Oh yeah, Dead Zone is good.
Hopefully, in the near future. Right, gentlemen. I've made it through. I didn't think I would. I thought I would have
done very well, Sean. Thank you.
You've done very well.
Thanks for this. I can feel the sympathy. Even a slow hand clap.
Put this way, mate. You'll get more sympathy from us than you will from your missus.
Oh, mate, you're right. Yeah.
It was just like, you know what I mean? There's nothing wrong with you. Just
I know.
Get on with it. Get on, do some work.
She has insisted that I get this PCR test tomorrow, so hopefully that comes back negative. But
the only thing like my missus is like, oh, there's nothing wrong with you, but as soon as she's not well, it's like, I'm the worst. You don't know what it's like.
It's the way of the world.
I could neither confirm nor deny any kind of comment on my behalf.
I'm going to mute it. She was not going to listen to this, and she's outside.
In the interest of marital harmony, we'll end the show there.
Indeed.
Thanks very much, guys, and we'll see you
Cheers,
on the other
mate.
side.